Hello. So on June 21st this year, actually a major incident happened online. Many websites, major websites were actually not accessible by people, and these websites included Discord, Crunchyroll, Shopify, Foodpanda, uh, Udemy, and DBS, including trading platforms like Coinbase, were also impacted by this. So what happened was that Cloudflare had an issue. Basically, there was some network configuration issues and it made quite a few websites not accessible. Basically, if your website is using Cloudflare services and it happens to be in, I think, 16 or was it 19 of their data centers, it's not accessible. So in today's video, I just wanted to give a brief introduction into what Cloudflare does. And yeah, hope you like it. So what is Cloudflare, right? It's actually a CDN, and then it is one of the world's largest network of H servers. It sits between your client request and your origin server. So it does a few things, including like DNS lookup, CDN, content delivery. It protects your website from DDoS attacks, routing traffic, and so on. So today I will primarily talk about two things, which is the CDN and the DNS lookup. Okay, because I find like reading these documentation, sometimes we might not understand like what CDN means, so I have to keep going into the docs to understand it. So I'm just gonna try to keep this video really short and sweet and give a summary of what it does. Okay, so let's start drawing. I'm gonna cover two things primarily, which is the DNS lookup, and the CDN. First, let us talk about the DNS lookup. So when you, a client, let's clear this whiteboard. First, let's talk about the DNS lookup. So when you, the client, wants to go to a website, you enter udemy.com, let's say, right? And what happens is it has to go somewhere, right? Let's call it a server. Client server. And what happens is it actually, you can think of this server as this place where, this machine where all your, where it contains the response of what you want. So when I say response, it means like when you go to this site, you want to kind of load the page, right? But nothing is actually on your own laptop, on computer, right? It has to go to a server, gets a response, and that's how it renders the page in the end. So, however, machines cannot actually understand what websites we key in, like udemy.com. That's just for people to type and read. It's more readable for humans, but machines actually need this thing called a IP address, right? So before you go to your server, what happens is it actually goes to a DNS service, and then it looks it up. You can think of this as a library where it contains like records. Say, Udemy means Udemy. Okay, the corresponding IP address is, let's say, something dot something dot something. Right, this is the IP address. So it looks it up and then it returns it to you. And that's how you have the IP address. So this is the first part for the DNS part. Cloudflare actually handles this. So during the Cloudflare outage, one of the solutions one of my colleagues discovered was that let's clear this screen first. Hang on. Okay. One of the ways to actually resolve this Cloudflare outage issue was that you can actually go to your privacy and security Chrome settings, search for DNS, and then you change it to custom. Just choose one such as like OpenDNS, Google, or whatever. So let me just show you. Okay, no, we'll show that later. But this was one of the ways you could bypass this Cloudflare outage issue back then. Okay, let me just switch it back because Cloudflare is working fine now. Okay, so the second part to this video is I wanted to just give a really quick introduction to what it means to be a CDN. So CDN is another thing that the Cloudflare does, right? So basically, you, the client, when you want to load your page or play a game or shop or whatever, make a transaction or whatever, you need to go to, again, the server knows what content you want, and it returns you this response, right? However, if you're in Singapore, let's say, and then your server is like based all the way in the US or something, right? It takes longer for the asset to be delivered to you. So what Cloudflare does is it has a bunch of edge servers. Edge servers is like this network of servers that sits closer, geographically closer to you, the client. So static assets are just, it can cache all these responses as well. So it acts as a reverse proxy. Cloudflare reverse proxy, so that you actually ping it instead, and if the information is not cached in the server, it pings the server. In the proxy, it pings the server, and then it returns you this information in the end. So what do I want to say? Wait, hang on. Okay, so let us just take a look at how this works with an actual site, right? I'll clear this board and come to this Udemy. Okay, so let's just open up the network tab. You can just inspect, and then it opens up this panel, and then you can click on network. Let's just do a refresh because the page was already loaded. You can see on the first request it makes is it has to load out the page first, right? And if we scroll down a bit, we can see that the server it hits is Cloudflare, right? So it tells us that it's using Cloudflare services. And then if you click on the preview, you can see how it like basically the HTML that it sends back as response, right? Okay, so the problem is that we do not want the client to ping the origin server directly. It's not just a problem, an issue with the delivery time. That's one. Second reason why we don't want the client to ping the origin server directly is because of DDoS attacks. So let's say I'm a legitimate client, I ping the server directly without the reverse proxy, and then it returns me a response. That's fine. But there can be a malicious guy, and he tries to create or she, bad guys can be females too, tries to create like tons and tons of bots. Let's say, okay, And then these clients, they act like they're normal clients, and then they go to the server and they overload this server so much that you, the legitimate client, cannot ping the server and get the response back in an appropriate amount of time. So we call this a DDoS attack. So Cloudflare actually helps with this situation by spreading out the requests across its network of H servers, reverse proxies. So this in a nutshell is what Cloudflare does, and I hope it was a little bit helpful and informative. Thank you.